Hello. Welcome back to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandy, and it is Monday Night Live. And so that's my new introduction to live streams. So I hope you guys like that. It was kind of fun. Um, actually took me a long time to figure out which photos and little videos to put where. So I hope you guys like it. And Xander is in, and Charmaine is in. Yay. Hello. How are ya? Oh, look it's Mama and Bunky are here. Hi, girls. How are ya? That's just so exciting. Well, it's Monday Night Live, and our topic tonight is birds, bees, flowers, and trees. And so you can see across the bottom, it's what are your favorites? What's your favorite bird? Bees? Is it honeybees? Is it native bees? Is it bumblebees? And then you got flowers, a whole myriad of flowers. I have a whole bunch of flowers growing in the greenhouse, and I have a whole bunch of flowers growing actually on the kitchen table with some lights and a heat mat. And of course, trees. So it's just very exciting. So I hope you guys in the chat just tell me, what are some of your favorites? Xander says, any bee that pollinates is liked here. Ah, see, this is good. And there are a lot of, in fact, in the United States, there's 4,000 to 5,000 different types of bees that help pollinate, which is mind-blowing. Bunky's favorite bird is red cardinals. See, I don't have red cardinals here, which makes me sad because I love them and I love to paint them. But, there's blue jays. They kind of look like a version of a red cardinal. And there is a lot of birds that we have around here. Charmaine says, hi to everybody. Hummingbirds, carnations. Oh, I like carnations too. We have hummingbirds both here in Wyoming and in Arizona. But in Arizona, the little ones live there the whole time. There are ones that migrate through Arizona, but there are certain species of them that live there all year round. How they tolerate that heat sometimes. It's already above 100 down in Arizona already. Monkey doesn't like bees because she got stung last year. So she will leave them be. Well, my brother got stung the other day. He has bees in his yard, and he just happened to be going around the corner of his house, and a bee was coming this way, and they crashed together. The bee just automatically stung when it was a crash, but it stung him right here in the eye. It almost looked like he had a black eye. But I have found that apple cider vinegar is really good on a bee sting, or if you don't have that, pickle juice. Now, and I have used lots of different things. I've made paste out of baking soda and put it on, you take that stinger out, you want to draw the poison out. So it is just one of those things. Bunky's favorite are zinnias, and her tree is a red maple. Oh, I have 2 red maples to plant. And I think I'm going to put them on the hillside by the food forest. But it used to be years ago when the kids were young. We had this beautiful Japanese maple in the front yard. And in the fall time, it was just orange and red everywhere. And I just loved it. But the people later on that had owned the house cut it down. Crazy. And Dale is in here. And did you get your package? They said Monday. So that's why I'm asking. And Craig is here. We're finishing mic control. And then the super goes on. I got bees. And they've been in the hive for about a week now. Week and a half. And about a week and a half now. And I can watch them bring that pollen in and out. I opened it up to make sure the queen was out of her little container. I have the little container. When you get a bees, the queen is in something like this. And on these ones, I have to take the cap off, and then there was candy right here. And then the bees ate through it while they were feeding her through these slots. And she was out and about laying eggs in the hive, and they were working. the hive that I put them in had all drawn combs. So they didn't have to do that work. And so they are happy little bees. Henry Leslie, Vermont. Hello. I watched your video the other day. Fabulous. I love your place up there. Ann says, I haven't, but I'm sure tomorrow. Yeah, just because the post office tells me Monday doesn't mean that's true. But Ann, guess what's coming today? It's out during the delivery. You get an email. It's my raised bed from the garden place that you are. I won't say any more about it. And the hose. They sent me a hose too. A couple things. But I'm going to do an unboxing when it comes, so I don't want to say any more. Vigo Garden, though. Charmaine says, I have harvested spinach and kale, also radishes. Had to build a cage around my beets because the birds were eating the leaves off faster than they could grow. That happens sometimes, and then other times they don't do anything to your garden. But I've literally seen over the community garden, I'll go over there and people's corn is just coming up. And I've literally seen the birds pull the corn out of the ground, which is crazy. Bunky wants to know if I still have plants in my bathroom. Actually, I don't have plants in my bathroom. I just moved them out to the greenhouse and I started planting a whole bunch of them because they're all to go outside. There was not plants that were going to stay inside. My red maples were in there. And so I brought everything outside so that they could harden off. They're in the greenhouse, but the greenhouse doesn't have plastic. It just has a sunscreen on it. And in fact, I'm replacing, instead of using plastic this summer, I'm using bamboo fencing. And I got an email today that my bamboo fencing is at Home Depot. So I'm going to go over there tonight and pick it up. And I was waiting for my boxes to come here. I didn't want to go before they got here because I want to do a video of them on the porch, me bringing them in, stuff like that. So, and everybody is saying hi to everybody. Ann says, Xander, I need to be in your brain. So much knowledge. That's awesome. But everybody's saying hi to everybody, and I always love that. But Ann says, bamboo fencing sounds wonderful. I had a greenhouse that was next to the garage before where my she shed is now. And 1 year, it had been there for probably 5 years, and the plastic needed replaced. And I was trying to not use as much plastic. And so I had this bamboo fencing, and I put it over the top and put it on the ends. It was perfect during the summertime. And so I just decided that, I don't need it to be warm in the wintertime because we're in Arizona. So why not use the bamboo fencing idea again? And then I'm not using the plastic. The water still comes through when it rains or I'm watering, but it really filters the sun and those plants go crazy in there. So I'm excited about that. Something is making holes in our strawberries. What can we do about it? Any tips? Well, it could be a few different things. It could be birds. More than likely, it's slugs or snails, though. I don't know if you guys have slugs or snails there. I would sprinkle with diatomaceous earth that is food grade. One, it will stop the snails or slugs. Well, that will really help. If it's birds, you'll probably have to put netting over top of the strawberries. And so that's just one of those things. The strawberries I have, before they start making the strawberries, they get really tall. And I used to use rocks that were painted like strawberries, but the type of strawberries I have right now, seascapes, get very tall, and it really makes a canopy, and I have to move them to find the strawberries. So that seems to be okay with that. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's getting long. I cut 3 inches off, so it would be even longer. So it's crazy. Oh, Ann's telling me that they package everything really well. I do have a box cutter, so I will use that. And Nancy is here. Hey, Nancy, how are you? I I actually watched part of your video that you were making unleavened bread. I didn't make any comment when it was going because I could only stay for just a little bit, but I did watch it for a little bit. So it was interesting. Christine, hello, how are ya? So, did I miss anybody? I'm just kind of scrolling back through. Sorry if I did. Just make a comment again. So, okay, in the chat, tell me your favorite bird. Now, I know Bunky says red cardinal. I have to say my favorite bird in Arizona is probably the hummingbirds. But in Wyoming, I really love the eagles. And just in my yard, I like the goldfinches because we get the goldfinches and I really like that. Charmaine says that could be ants eating strawberries. I have never had that problem. I wouldn't have thought about that. I suppose that's possible though. And so look in your flower bed, but the diatomaceous earth will actually help with that too, with the ants too, because we think of the ants, you know, they have an exoskeleton, but there is one little part underneath that's very vulnerable on an ant, and the diatomaceous earth can irritate them. So that could be, oh, bald eagles. See, I love bald eagles too. They're just like majestic. And we have some really beautiful hawks that are by our house. And every once in a while, we'll see a great big owl. When Joe used to be, when he wasn't retired, when he worked at the mine, there was some big owls out there, and they could watch them swooping down at night. They'd get on top of the big light poles. And so that is amazing. Ann says cardinals too. But we really enjoy Canadian geese. We have those too, right across the street. We actually have one that's a single this year. And so something must have happened to its partner because they mate for life. And they're, you know, usually they're always two together or a whole bunch of them with a bunch of babies. But this one's a single this year. And so that's kind of sad. Oh, so the ants do eat yours. See, I haven't never had that problem, but that's interesting fact that the ants would eat them. Christine says bald eagle and finch. We have some redheaded finches that are really cute that come. Kingfisher, black-capped chickadees. Oh, I like chickadees. We have those here too. We have a lot of birds that come in our yard because we have feeders. And so they come in and it's very enjoyable to sit on the back patio and just watch the birds. Sometimes they go crazy and there's too many birds in my yard. Ann says, I just looked outside and there are many geese that have come up and one giant Netra. I don't know what that is. Oh, swamp rat. Crazy. Okay, next one. Okay, and there's other people saying birds too. Bees. That's our next thing. So I'm going to show you some bees. This is how my package of bees came. So some of you might have seen this, but here they are. Can you hear the girls? Isn't that crazy? So yeah, I got a package of 3 pounds of bees. Now, how many bees is 3 pounds? It's about 10 to 12,000 bees. It is crazy. But the post office calls you, you know, you have to go get them. And then I have a mesh bag that I slide them into just in case. Okay. Next thing, favorite flowers. And some of you already commented on your favorite flowers. I have to say, I love zinnias. I love roses. My popcorn plants. But, you know, some of the most beautiful flowers are like clematis and cosmos and pansies. There's just so many. Christine says that we were thinking of growing a lavender farm, bee boxes at the ranch. Oh, fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous. An interesting thing, if you know, I'm going to put this up. This is Castle Hives. This is Brian. He has a video out today, and he's comparing two different bee boxes. One is a regular Langstrom hive, but on the side of it, it has two windows, and you can watch the bees inside the hive, which is very, very cool. And then the other one, he literally printed with his 3D printer. He said that it cost him about, I think it was like $235 to print the beehive. And it's octagonal shaped, and it was two supers, and the roof was slanted. But if you have not seen Castle Hives, Brian over at Castle Hives, that is a video that's, even if you don't have bees, I think you'll find it really interesting. Sandra says snapdragons and April lilies. Those are beautiful flowers too. In Arizona, my snapdragons will literally grow about 3 feet tall. I've never gotten them to grow that tall in Wyoming. Black-eyed Susans. That is awesome. Yeah, Christine, watch. Brian has some great videos, but this one today was just really interesting that you could literally make a beehive with a 3D printer. And I think he paid like $96 for the program. That's what you buy from the company. And then you use your 3D printer to print it. And he shows parts of it when he's printing it. It was just fascinating, I thought. Anne says, clematis. I love those. And there's a gal that lives in my town here in Wyoming. And she was on the garden walk. Well, I think it must have been 2 years ago. She must have had 15 different kinds of clematises, different colors, different shapes, ones that bloomed at different times. It was just so fascinating in her yard, because you really think of those dark purple ones or maybe a light purple one, but she had ones that, there's a fall bearing one too, and it only has 4 little petals. It's white, but when it opens up, it is just humongous with flowers. Okay, trees. What is your favorite tree? For me, my favorite tree are apples, because I'm like an apple crazy nut when it comes to fruit trees. I mean, I love all kinds of fruit trees, but apple trees I just find so fascinating that you can have. Did you know that there's literally about 17,000 different apple trees in North America? And how many do you see in the stores? Less than 10. That is sad. So that's why I have so many apple trees, because I want to try all these different kinds. And so I don't mind them being shorter, smaller, more compact. I'll just prune them that way so that I can try a lot of different kinds of apples. Oh, willow tree. That's good. Daylilies are up there. And then Anne says, we have a vine in our yard that my granddaddy planted. Is it a clematis? And what color? See, that is fascinating. Okay, I want to show you what I did today. We only have like 10 minutes left. Okay, my daughter calls me on the phone, my youngest daughter. She has 2 little ones, and they go camping a lot. And she goes, she has a picture. She goes, how hard would it be to make these ponchos? And so I have been making ponchos for them today. This is for the wee one, the littlest one. She likes elephants. So it has a little front pocket. It's fuzzy and furry. The hood is that same. And then it's got elephants. So she should like that. I got my daughter's one done. That's just red, and it has plaid for the pocket and for the hood. And I'm almost done with Niece's. Hers are different grays. And so I'm totally excited about that. And so I cut them out yesterday, and I've been sewing them this afternoon. And I'm about half done with Niece's, so then I'll have all 3 of them done. So next time I go to Rapid, I can bring those. So, but they were fun, and it was a fun little break from it's drizzly outside and kind of cold. So it was a nice change of doing something different. And so I'll have a video this week on what how I did them, because it's a super simple pattern. And I didn't buy any material. I just went out into my shed and I had different fleeces, and I just thought, phew, that's what I'm doing. Oh, fava tree. Not sure if it's really considered a tree anymore. Grape tree, most places don't let it grow into a tree anymore. Oh, most places don't let it grow into a tree anymore. More like a shrub. They trim it like that. I'm going to have to look that up because I don't know what that looks like. That's interesting. For you guys that know Lisa at Yogi Holler Farm, on Sunday, they got massive hail at their place. And so hopefully she only had things in the greenhouse. It was a short that she put up, but it was just hailing like crazy. So I felt bad for her. And so how many yards for the adults? I don't have the pattern in here. And I did make it longer than what they said. But it can't be more than, it's not 2 yards. So it's not very much. But I will find out for you and let you know. Yeah, and she has it up. It happened on Sunday, but you should just see it crashing down. And I thought, oh, she's been doing all that work, so hopefully she hadn't planted anything in the gardens. So grapes used to grow big into trees. The reason I like them is because they can take the leaves and make dama. Oh, stuffed grape leaves. I have a lot of grape vines in my yard. And a lot of times I'll put the grape leaves on the, I'll put all the pickle stuff in the jar, in my quart jar. And then I'll put a grape leaf on top of it. It seems to make the pickles crunchier. Or sometimes when I'm making sauerkraut and the leaves are just perfect, before I put the weight down, I'll put grape leaves on there too. And I like that. It is fabulous. The stuffed grape leaves. So good. Okay, one other little fun thing. Okay, I got to take all my sticky notes off first because I want to know if you guys know any of this. We have a little book depository up our street by where we get our mail. And so every so often I look in there because sometimes I find, cowboy books for my dad. My dad's 93. He loves reading cowboy books, but only the old ones. He says the other ones have way too much romance and he doesn't want it. So anyway, look at this. Look at this old book. Little Red Riding Hood. This was 1959 that this was from. I think somebody was chewing on that corner, or a dog maybe. Anyway, and I thought to myself, how old is that story of Little Red Riding Hood? Does anybody know when that was written? Little Red Riding Hood was written? Well, okay, here's some fun facts. They think the folktale is about 700 years old, and it's changed different things. Sometimes it's a wolf, sometimes it's a werewolf, sometimes it's a monster. But they think about 700 years ago when it first started. In 1697, a Frenchman wrote it down, the story down, but instead of calling it Little Red Riding Hood, he called it Little Red Cap, which I thought was kind of fun. And then in 1812, the Grimm's brothers wrote it in a book, and they called it Little Red Riding Hood. But it wasn't until 1891 that Andrew Lang actually revised Little Red Riding Hood. And he had a book that was called Blue Fairy Book, 1891. And he was the one that said, "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have, all the better to hear you with. Grandmother, oh, what big eyes you have, all the better to see you with. And I thought it was the Grimm brothers that had written it like that, but it wasn't. It was Andrew Lang that wrote it like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And in 1818, so that was like 6 years after the Grimm brothers wrote their book, they had an opera of Little Red Riding Hood. 1987, they had a Broadway musical of Little Red Riding Hood. And there was just all kinds of fun facts about that. But I was just so intrigued that in the book depository, somebody would put this old version of Little Red Riding Hood. And it's all a whole bunch of different drawings. But I found it really interesting that sometimes it was a wolf, sometimes it was a werewolf, sometimes it was a monster. Sometimes Little Red Riding Hood got eaten. Sometimes the wolf just died. Sometimes the axeman that was cutting trees down in the forest cut it down. So I just thought that was interesting. And I thought, I'm just going to share that little tidbit of stuff to you guys. And because sometimes we know all those stories, those fairy tales, but we don't really know where they came from. But I thought, gosh, even 700 years ago, they were saying versions of Little Red Riding Hood. And I just thought it was fun. And says, who else is singing this song of Little Red Riding Hood? I love that story. I have watched different versions of it as a cartoons and little stories on TV. And when I saw that book, it just brought back memories. And I thought that was kind of fun to do. One last thing, because we only have a few minutes left. I wanted to show you these. I ordered these for my fruit trees. See, they have a little hole so you can hang them in your fruit trees. And then it's sticky on both sides. And so you peel that, put a little twisty tie and put it on a branch. But you don't put them on until the flowers are done blooming. So they're starting to set. And because you don't want honeybees getting stuck on there, or pollinators, native pollinators getting stuck on there. But the codling moth is probably the worst thing that happens to apple trees because the worm goes into the apple. So they fly at night. And so this can help. I put up a bat box probably 3 years ago because the bats will eat them at night. And then we have bats that fly around the street light. And so I'm hoping that they can literally eat hundreds of them in a night. And then I just thought anything that might catch them, you can get these little pheromone traps also, but I'm just going to try some of these. I honestly don't have too much of a problem because I usually bag all my apples, but every once in a while the one gets in there before that. Oh, what are these called? They're called yellow sticky cards. You can get them all over the place. I got mine from Amazon. But they can get, because sometimes you just have gnats or aphids or something. And some aphids are flying. They fly. And so it can just catch whole bunches of stuff that you don't want in your apple trees. But wait until after the blossoms have fallen off and the fruit has already been pollinated before you hang them up there. And so I usually will wait until most of my apple trees are done flowering because I have early, mid, and late. And I just want to make sure that I catch any pests that I don't want. So that is crazy. The newest episode of Round the Hay Bale came up on YouTube today, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And so if you have not listened to that, it's all about incubating eggs. And Anne is my other co-host. We have 4 of them. We have Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, Casey from Ormsby Farm, and Dale Homestead, and me. I'm their newest host, season 5, and it is a great episode. So if you haven't checked that out, go to Round the Hay Bale on YouTube and you can see that. It is a great panel. I am totally blessed that they allowed me to become one of their hosts. I'm just at awe all the time. I'm just so excited about it. So, Charmaine says that the ants get into your apricots too. I think you have too many ants at your house. A simple way so that ants don't get into your trees. There's a lot of different ways that you can put. You can wrap things around the trunk, as simple as putting Vaseline around, like an inch of Vaseline around the trunk. The ants won't go over it. There's a lot of different products you can buy to do that same thing. And the ants love aphids, and they will literally move aphids from tree to tree if allowed. So if you can stop them on the trunk, it will stop the aphids, other than some of the flying ones. But it will really cut down on the aphid population in your fruit trees. But it is past my 30 minutes, so I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you guys coming in on a Monday night. I know you guys are busy and it's a full week, but I hope you have a great time, and thanks for stopping by. And look for my unboxing. It's going to come sometime today. Okay, bye everybody.